Amina Nakiawa still remembers the night everything changed. At just 18, her parents told her she had to leave because only Talitha deserves investment. They said it calmly, like it was a normal decision, like Amina's dreams didn't matter at all. She packed her clothes in a small bag, and while her sister slept in a warm bed, Amina walked out into the cold Kivu Valley night with nowhere to go. For months she slept on friends' couches, never staying too long because she didn't want to be a burden. Every day felt heavy. She worked night shifts at small shops and restaurants just to afford food. But even after long, tiring nights, she carried one secret hope. She enrolled in free classes at a youth tech center. Some nights she would be so exhausted that her hands shook on the keyboard, but she refused to stop. Every line of code felt like one small step toward a life her parents never believed she could have. Years passed, and the girl who once had nothing slowly built herself into someone powerful. From internships to promotions, she climbed her way into one of the biggest tech companies in the region. Now she wasn't just an employee, she was a senior hiring manager, the kind of person whose decisions could change someone's entire future. And then came the day that felt like a movie scene. Talitha walked into the interview room, dressed confidently, holding her file, ready to impress whoever sat on the other side of the table. She didn't even look up at first. She had no idea. Amina sat there, calm, successful, unrecognizable from the girl they threw away. When Talitha finally looked up and froze, Amina smiled, leaned forward and said softly, "Please have a seat." In that moment, the sister they once called not worth investing in was the one holding all the power. Amina still remembers the way her house felt that night, cold, quiet, and not hers anymore. Her parents stood at the doorway with stiff faces, telling her to pack her things. They didn't shout. They didn't argue. They simply said the sentence that cut deeper than anything. "Talitha is the one who will make us proud." It felt like someone pressed a stop button on her whole life. She walked out with only a backpack, a few clothes, and her old diary, the one place she wrote dreams she never said out loud. The streetlights flickered as she walked away, trying to hold her tears in. She kept asking herself, how can a family choose only one child? But no answer came. Just silence and the sound of her footsteps as she left the life she thought she had. Amina went to Sunyani City because she needed a place where no one knew her story. She rented the smallest room she could find and used public libraries as her classroom. Every day, she sat at a corner desk with her borrowed laptop, learning to code from YouTube videos and free courses. Some nights the guards would tap her shoulder, reminding her the library was closing. She would pack her things slowly, wishing she had just one more hour. She worked part-time jobs, cleaning offices at dawn, serving food during lunch hours, doing anything that paid. But every spare minute went into learning. The more she studied, the more she felt herself becoming someone new, someone stronger, someone her parents never imagined she could be. 5 years later, Sunyani City knew her as the woman who built the Youth Tech Rise program, an initiative that helped hundreds of young people enter the tech world. Her name started appearing in small articles, on community posters, and even in conferences. She wasn't just surviving anymore, she was building something powerful. And then came the moment she could never have predicted. A new list of applicants came in for interviews at her company. One name made her freeze for a second. Talitha Nakiawa. Amina didn't react. She simply added the name to her schedule, closed her laptop, and breathed in deeply. The girl her parents had chosen over her was now applying for a job she was in charge of. When the interview day arrived, Talitha walked into the modern glass office looking polished and confident. She didn't look around much. She was too busy rehearsing her lines. She sat down, waiting for the interviewer to speak. Amina watched her quietly, noticing every detail, her nervous fingers, her fake confidence, her eyes that carried no recognition. Then Amina finally spoke, her voice calm but unforgettable. "Hello, Talitha. It's been a long time." Talitha's head snapped up. Her eyes widened. Only then did she realize. The sister they'd thrown away had built a future far stronger than they ever expected. Amina's new life began with nothing but hard work and pain. When her parents pushed her out, she didn't have a plan, money, or anyone to fall back on. She took whatever job she could find, washing dishes in tiny restaurants, cleaning hostels where guests never even looked at her, and helping in markets just to afford one meal a day. Every night she came home exhausted, but she refused to let her story end there. In her free hours, she searched for ways to learn something bigger. She found online courses, old laptops in community centers, and videos that taught her the basics of coding. She didn't understand everything at first, but she kept trying. Sometimes she would fall asleep on her keyboard, only to wake up and continue where she left off. Her determination became her only fuel. One day at a small community hub, a mentor named Mr. Kamau noticed how serious she was. He saw her sitting in the corner for hours, eyes focused, ignoring the noise around her. He walked up to her and said, "You remind me of someone who refuses to give up." Over time, he became the first adult to truly believe in her potential. When exam fees came up, fees she could never afford, he paid for them himself and told her, "Your future is worth investing in." That changed everything. With those exams, Amina got her first internship, then a junior role, then a promotion. She climbed step by step into the Nairobi Digital Sphere Company, one of the fastest-growing tech firms in the region. Colleagues admired her, bosses trusted her, and soon she became one of the faces of the company's success. It wasn't long before she earned a high-ranking position in the hiring division, something she once thought was impossible. But life has a funny way of bringing certain people back. On interview day, Talitha walked in confidently, loudly telling the receptionist, "Don't worry, I have connections. I'm sure this will be easy." She had no idea who she would be speaking to. She entered the interview room, smiling like she already owned the job. Amina sat there, calm and composed, wearing her official badge with her impressive title. When Talitha finally looked up and recognized her, the confidence melted off her face. Her mouth opened slightly, but no words came out. Amina didn't raise her voice. She didn't smile. She simply asked the one question that had lived in her heart for years. "Why did you leave your sister outside that night?" The room went silent. Talitha's connections couldn't save her from the truth now. Amina will never forget the feeling of sitting outside her own house in the rain, knees pulled to her chest, watching the front door slowly lock in her face. Her parents didn't even look back. She kept waiting, hoping someone would open the door and call her inside. But no one did. The rain soaked her clothes, her diary, even her hair. But the coldest thing that night wasn't the weather. It was the silence from the people she loved. She finally stood up and started walking with no idea where to go. Cars splashed water on the road, and she hugged her backpack tighter. A boda driver noticed her standing under a streetlight, shivering. He asked her where she was headed. When she whispered, "I don't have a home anymore," he didn't ask more questions. He simply said, "Get on, little sister. The capital will be kinder to you." That stranger, whose name she later learned was Musa, became the first person to show her kindness after her own family abandoned her. In the capital, life was still hard, but at least she had a chance. Musa helped her find a girls' shelter, and from there she discovered a tech scholarship program. Amina applied with nothing but determination, and somehow she got in. She studied day and night, pushing through doubt, hunger, and fear. But each time she felt like giving up, she remembered the locked door, the cold rain, and the way her parents chose Talitha without hesitation. That memory kept her going. Slowly, Amina began to shine. Her projects won small awards, then bigger ones. People at events started asking her to speak. Recruiters wanted to know the girl who rose from nothing. Eventually, she earned a position as a recruiter herself, someone who could spot talent, guide careers, and change lives just the way hers had been changed. Years passed, and Amina became respected across top companies. Her name carried weight. Her story inspired others. She built a life so strong that the old pain became something she could finally breathe through. Then one morning, her assistant handed her an interview schedule. She scanned the names and stopped. Talitha Nakiawa, her sister. The reason she once sat alone in the rain. Amina didn't panic. She didn't get angry. She simply prepared for the interview like she would for any other candidate. When Talitha walked into the room, she looked confident, until her eyes landed on Amina. The file slipped from her hands and hit the floor. Her face went pale, her mouth trembling with shock, maybe even fear. Amina didn't smirk. She didn't show pain. She didn't remind her sister of the past in a harsh way. She just spoke in a calm, steady voice that cut deeper than any yelling ever could. "Please pick up your file, Talitha. Let's begin." And just like that, the sister they once threw away was the one sitting in the seat of power. Amina didn't cry the night she was kicked out. She was too stunned to even feel the pain. She stood outside with her small bag, listening to the door lock behind her, and something inside her broke quietly. She whispered to herself, not out of anger but out of survival, "I'll build a future without you." It became the promise that carried her through everything that came next. She went to Lake Nubia town because it was the only place she could reach with the little money she had. Life there wasn't easy. She took whatever work she could find, cleaning shops at dawn, serving food in busy cafes, carrying boxes in dusty markets. People barely noticed her, but she noticed everything. Every opportunity, every free Wi-Fi spot, every poster about community classes. She saved every coin she could, sometimes skipping meals just so she could afford more data to study online. At night, she watched tutorials on cybersecurity, typing on an old second-hand laptop she bought after months of saving. She made mistakes, failed tests, cried quietly in her small rented room, but she never quit. The vow she made that first night kept her moving. "I'll build a future without you." Little by little, her skills grew. She joined online groups, entered small tech competitions, and eventually caught the attention of a local startup. They took a chance on her. From there, everything changed. She worked harder than everyone around her, learned faster, fixed problems no one else could, and within a few years, she became a respected cybersecurity analyst, one of the best in her division. 5 years later, Amina had a life she built with her own hands, and a peace her family never thought she would have. Then one morning, an HR assistant dropped a stack of resumes on her desk for review. As Amina scanned through them, a familiar name hit her like a cold wind: Talitha Nakiawa, her sister. The one her parents had chosen, the girl whose future mattered more than hers. Amina took a long breath and opened the resume. Talitha's life had clearly fallen apart, jobs lost, debts listed, skills outdated. She was desperate. The interview day arrived. Talitha walked in looking tired, fragile, and nervous. It took her a moment to realize who was sitting across the table. When her eyes met Amina's, her entire face froze. Shame, fear, and disbelief rushed over her all at once. Amina didn't raise her voice. She didn't mention the night she was thrown out. Instead, she opened her laptop slowly, looked directly at her sister, and asked in a calm, steady voice, "Why should this company trust you?" It was the first time Talitha understood what it meant to face the person you once left behind. And the moment she realized Amina didn't just survive, she rose far above everyone who doubted her. Amina's new life started in a crowded shelter, the kind of place where people held onto their blankets the way others held onto dreams. She had nothing left after being kicked out: no home, no family, no plan. The shelter bed was thin, the nights were loud, and the future felt blurry. But Amina refused to let that be the end of her story. She heard about free tech workshops offered at a nearby community center. At first, she was scared to even show up. She thought she wasn't smart enough or trained enough. But she went anyway. She sat in the back, taking notes on scrap paper, repeating lessons to herself long after everyone else had left. The volunteers noticed her dedication. They gave her extra time on the computers after class, and Amina used every second. She practiced coding until her fingers cramped. She watched tutorials late into the night, whispering each line of code like it was a new language she was determined to master. Slowly, she improved. Slowly, she became someone she herself didn't recognize. A girl with fire in her eyes and a future forming in her hands. One of the workshop mentors encouraged her to apply for an internship at a major African fintech company. She almost didn't send the application, thinking she didn't stand a chance. But she did. And when the acceptance email came, she cried quietly in the shelter bathroom so no one would hear her. The internship changed her life. For the first time, she worked in an office with glass doors, bright lights, and people who respected her ideas. She proved herself quickly. She showed up early, stayed late, solved problems others couldn't, and learned faster than anyone expected. Year after year she climbed higher. Eventually, Amina earned a promotion to senior interviewer for the Elite Talent Program, one of the most competitive programs in the entire company. She was now in the position to open doors for other young people, doors that were once slammed in her face. Then came the day she never saw coming. A woman walked into the interview room wearing expensive perfume, confident heels, and a smile that said she expected to be chosen. It was Talitha, her sister, the one her parents had chosen over her, the one who watched her leave. Talitha didn't look at Amina at first. She was too busy straightening her blazer, preparing her speech. But when Amina picked up the file and said her name softly, in that familiar voice Talitha once mocked and ignored, everything stopped. Talitha froze. The color drained from her face. Her confident smile slowly collapsed. She looked at Amina like she was seeing a ghost. Only Amina wasn't a ghost. She was the future Talitha never expected. And all Amina had to do was say her name to make the truth hit harder than any revenge ever could. Amina grew up believing that families were supposed to lift each other up, but her parents proved her wrong. When money got tight, they made a choice that crushed her. They pulled Amina out of school so Talitha could attend the elite academies in Ulendo Hills. She has the brighter future, they said. You'll manage somehow. Amina tried to smile, tried to accept it, but the truth burned inside her. She left home with tears running down her face, carrying nothing but a small bag and the painful feeling of being the child they could afford to lose. She traveled to the capital, unsure of what her life would become. She found a job in a small cafe, wiping tables, cleaning floors, taking long shifts just to survive. Most customers never even looked at her, but one day a man working on his laptop noticed her watching him code. He saw the curiosity in her eyes and asked, "Do you want to learn this?" That question changed everything. He began teaching her small things, basic programming, simple apps, how to think like a developer. Amina absorbed everything like a sponge. After work, she stayed behind practicing on the cafe's old Wi-Fi. Soon she understood more than just basics. Her talent grew fast, and the customer encouraged her to apply for tech internships. She did, and she got one. From there, Amina rose fast. She worked harder than everyone else, stayed later than everyone else, and learned skills that even her seniors admired. Within a few years, she became known for solving problems no one else could. Her determination pushed her into management roles, and eventually she became a respected interviewer for one of the top companies in the region. She built the future no one ever thought she would have. Then one day, HR handed her the next set of interview candidates. She froze when she saw the name, Talitha, her sister. The one her parents saved, the one they sacrificed her for. Amina didn't panic. She simply prepared. When Talitha walked into the room, she was polished, confident, and sure the job was hers. She didn't recognize Amina at first. Success had changed her sister in ways she couldn't imagine. But the moment Amina spoke, Talitha's face trembled. She knew that voice. Amina stayed calm. No anger. No revenge in her tone. She looked straight at her sister and asked a standard interview question, but one that hit deeper than any insult. "Can you tell me about a time you showed kindness to someone who needed it?" Talitha's mouth opened, then closed. Her eyes darted away. She couldn't think of a single example. And in that silent moment, the truth became painfully clear. Amina had grown. Talitha had not. Amina's life truly began the night she realized no one was coming to save her. With no home, no money, and no support, she had to build herself from zero. And she did. Slowly, painfully, and with a kind of determination nobody in her family ever saw in her. She spent her days doing small jobs to survive, and her nights studying under streetlights because it was the only place with steady brightness. People walking by thought she was just another girl passing time, but if they looked closely, they would have seen lines of code written on her notebook pages. Her eyes focused like someone fighting for her life. One of those nights changed everything. A passing man stopped to ask what she was doing. He introduced himself as a tech founder looking for passionate young talent. When he saw her notes, her logic, her hunger to learn, he didn't laugh, he was amazed. He invited her to his office to take a skills test. Amina was terrified, but she went, and she passed. That moment opened the door to her first real opportunity. She joined his startup as an intern, then a junior developer, then a software engineer. She learned faster than most people on the team, staying up late fixing bugs and studying new technologies. Her boss often said, "She works like someone who has already tasted heartbreak and refuses to ever taste it again." Within a few years, Amina was promoted to lead developer, one of the youngest in East Africa. Her story spread through conferences, magazines, and mentorship programs. Young girls looked up to her. Companies wanted her. And the family who once dismissed her had no idea she had reached such heights. Then came the interview day she never expected. She scanned the candidate list and saw the name that made her heart pause. Talitha Nakiawa, her sister. The chosen one. The favorite. The girl whose bright future came at the cost of Amina's. Amina didn't request to switch interview panels. She didn't avoid it. She prepared like it was any other interview. Talitha arrived wearing expensive clothes, heels clicking loudly, acting like she already owned the room. She sat down without looking closely at Amina, until Amina spoke her name. Talitha's head snapped up, and in an instant, the confidence in her eyes cracked. There was her sister. Not the weak girl she once laughed at, not the girl they left behind, but a woman with power, success, and calm control. Amina closed the file slowly, looked her sister in the eyes, and asked a question that hit harder than any revenge ever could. "Tell me, Talitha, is your family still choosing who is worthy?" The room went silent, and for the first time in her life, Talitha had no answer at all. Amina remembers the words as if they were carved into her heart. Her parents called her a waste of money, shaking their heads every time she asked for help, while praising Talitha for every little achievement. "She is the one who will make us proud," they said. Amina didn't argue. She didn't cry in front of them. She left quietly, carrying nothing but her small bag and a growing fire inside her. She moved to Lusaka City, a place where no one knew her past. She took small jobs at first, answering phones, filing documents, doing anything she could to survive. But she kept learning, kept pushing herself, studying online at night after long days of work. Every setback only made her work harder. Every no she faced became a step toward her own yes. Eventually, her talent and persistence were noticed by a multinational firm. She started as a junior employee, but her skill, dedication, and the way she solved problems no one else could made her rise quickly. Within a few years, she became a respected team leader, guiding projects, mentoring new employees, and earning the kind of respect her parents never imagined she could command. Lusaka City didn't know her as the girl they abandoned. It knew her as someone powerful, someone in control, someone successful. Then came the day she would face the past in person. HR handed her the schedule for the next set of interviews, and one name jumped off the page: Talitha Nakiawa, her sister. The girl whose future had once mattered more than hers. Amina didn't panic. She didn't feel the old anger. She only felt calm, the kind of calm that comes from knowing you've already won. When Talitha walked into the room, dressed in expensive clothes and trying to look confident, she had no idea who would be sitting across from her. As soon as Talitha's eyes met Amina's, everything shifted. That air of arrogance disappeared. For the first time, Amina saw fear, real fear, in her sister's eyes. Fear of facing someone she once hurt, someone she thought she had left behind. Amina leaned forward slightly, keeping her voice steady and calm. She didn't mock. She didn't shout. She asked one simple question, one that carried years of pain, struggle, and triumph. "Did pushing me out get you the future you wanted?" Talitha swallowed hard, unable to speak. The table was silent. In that moment, everything her parents had decided, everything they had praised, crumbled quietly. Amina had built a life they never thought she could, and the sister they favored was the one now left answering to her. Amina's life was never easy. From the night her parents kicked her out, she faced hunger, homelessness, and nights filled with doubt. She slept on friends' couches, worked small jobs, and studied whenever she could find a quiet moment. Every setback could have broken her, but Amina found a hidden strength she didn't know she had. She taught herself coding, joined programs, won scholarships, and slowly built a life she could be proud of. Years later, Amina became a respected professional in the tech world, known for her skill, leadership, and her dedication to mentoring young women in STEM. She traveled to conferences, spoke to students, and inspired girls to chase their dreams, something she had once only dared to imagine. Her name carried weight. Her story gave hope. Then came the day her past walked back into her life. Talitha, the sister her parents had chosen over her, appeared for an interview. She walked in confidently at first, but when she saw Amina sitting on the other side of the table, powerful, calm, successful, her expression froze. She hadn't expected to face the sister she had abandoned, the girl she thought she left behind. Amina watched her quietly for a moment. No anger, no rush, just the steady calm of someone who had survived, grown, and thrived despite every obstacle. Then she leaned forward slightly, a small smile on her lips, and said the words that summed up everything. "You kicked me out to make room for her future. Turns out I built mine, and now she needs me." In that instant the power shifted. The sister who had once walked away in tears was now the one standing in awe, realizing that Amina had not only survived, but had created a life far stronger than anyone had ever imagined.